Pleasure to be here again. I'm going to talk about e-commerce and how AI is redefining how we find B2B commerce success. Sarah's already given me the introduction, and I was in front of everybody yesterday. If you didn't get a chance to connect with me on LinkedIn yet, please do. I promise I don't hound, I just post. Probably don't need to really explain who Flywheel is to this room. But I want to start off with some context for what I'm hoping I'm going to be able to accomplish in the next 20 minutes or so. Everybody here is building digital experiences, but I want you to think about how you can build the digital experience that you know you need. Not the one you have, but the one that you wish you could build. We're a little bit hesitant right now. That sounds wonderful, and I'd like to put those plans in motion. But we got this AI thing hanging over us. And we want to embrace it, but it is moving frickin' fast. And that is a quote that I have heard from everybody so far in 2025, probably even going back further. We're in a pretty precarious position right now, everybody collectively. We're doing all kinds of things. We're advancing initiatives. We're trying to pick up our kids on time. We get something done and then something changes and it knocks us off balance again. And then we got to pick ourselves back up, convince ourselves that we had a good plan. We just got to follow it. I'll just make this tweak. Something else happens and bang, bang, bang. Everybody's facing that right now. We're being told by our leaders, our executives, our mentors, our political leaders, don't forget about domestic resilience. You know, whatever else is going on in the world, you've got an opportunity right outside your door that got you to where you are, and you don't want to abandon that. Double down on that opportunity, take advantage of that, ride it out, grow there. But we're also hearing, you know what? If you're going to see the kind of growth or even stability that got you to where you are, you're going to have to change. You're going to have to enter new markets. You're going to have to diversify. You're going to have to go abroad. What are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to be innovating or operating? The classic dilemma. If we make the wrong choice, if we move with haste, we're going to be saddled with tech debt. If we buy a technology that's outdated by tomorrow, we're screwed. If we don't, we are going to be resigned to the bin of irrelevance. At Flywheel, we use the analogy of the flywheel all the time. If you're not familiar, a flywheel is the big, heavy spinning disc that ensures a motor, an engine, a generator has a consistent output of energy. Sometimes you need to build that engine. And sometimes you need to keep putting energy into the engine and keep that flywheel spinning so that you can maintain the momentum that you have put into the machine. So what I would like today is to think about my objective, and I want you to tell me, shoot me a LinkedIn message, bump into me in the bathroom, at the lunch bar, wherever. Are you going to take this opportunity right now to reinforce and build more of your flywheel, or are you going to be putting more energy into keeping that momentum going? So I want you to think about that, and I'd like to know what you heard and took away from this. So that's why I'm here. That's what I'm hoping to be able to accomplish. How am I going to get there? Well, we'll talk about that problem. I'll go through the B2B buyer reality, and I will provide a bit of an action plan. So in the world of e-commerce, specifically our focus is B2B e-commerce, I want to frame the problem that we see quite often. We have a classic disconnect. This has been the sort of B2B e-commerce or even the B2C e-commerce problem for forever. You got content and commerce living in different places, and at the same time, we've got this emergent AI overwhelm that I already referred to. In the world of e-commerce, the e-commerce experience has been typically treated like a system. And content is kind of the responsibility. Like we literally have clients who have a different department for the e-commerce management and another department that does marketing, and they don't talk to each other. The org chart keeps them apart. I'm sure everybody here has already figured that out and you've kind of gotten through this challenge, but let me put you back in that headspace because we do see it quite often. And as I already mentioned, AI is this emergent overwhelm. We are all very accustomed now to using ChatGPT at the end of our arm for personal productivity, and we are amazed by it. And we're hearing at conferences like this that it's going to work for business too, but we're not quite sure exactly when to trust it, how to make it work. Pretty tough. We get it. The reality is your buyers don't care about those problems. Sorry. As Stefania was saying earlier, they want one modern, seamless, story-driven experience. Now, again, like Stefania was saying, do they come up and tell you, you know what, I didn't buy from you because your story wasn't cohesive and I didn't like it, no, they just leave. So you got to figure out how to work that in to what you're doing. So go back and refresh yourself on everything that Stefania was saying because it's all in there. But I'm going to touch on a few things that make that B2B buying process particularly complex. It is a highly informed but misaligned buying group. 91% of people who enter a B2B decision enter the meeting already familiar with the vendor. They already know who you are. How often do buyers change their mind during that buying process? Think about that. You articulate your requirements. Many of you have probably even built RFPs and issued them. We've all received them. And then you're like, okay, sure. Once you get engaged, buyers revise their own understanding of the problem 3.1 times during that process. That's pretty frustrating. We all know. I bet a lot of people had a higher number in their mind. How many B2B purchases are going to stall? Anybody think it's 100%? I do. 86%. It's pretty close. 86% of B2B purchases stall. I'm not saying they don't get started again, but they certainly do not follow that original intention that the buyer had when they started the process. So again, they're doing all this work, they're picking up all the signals, they're consuming your information, you're trying to convince them, but internally they're spinning around. They're not actually as aligned as they even think they were or intended to be. This one I found the most interesting. So after they make the decision and they hire you, how many B2B purchasers are dissatisfied with their chosen provider? 81%. Now that doesn't mean they're fed up and they're going to fire you, but they have dissatisfaction. Okay, so I've described a scenario that's also applies to any sort of B2B procurement process, not specifically an e-commerce experience. But when you are in a B2B e-commerce experience, you're still trying to get that initial master service agreement. B2B e-commerce doesn't start with just a shopping cart and a credit card. It starts with a contract and an agreement and catalog selection and pricing terms and account creation, and then you can start placing orders. So now you've still got to influence the individual buyers, the procurement person, the operations guy who needs more filters for the airport. How does that change some of what happens in the B2B buying process? That complexity does not go anywhere. In fact, it gets more personalized. So we're all building or maintaining, advancing digital experiences. How many B2B purchasers prefer a rep-free experience? 75%. I'm actually surprised it wasn't a bit higher. That circle should have been green. But, this is where the red one comes in, self-service B2B e-commerce purchasing leads to more regret. What are you talking about? I gave them a frictionless shopping experience. They can shop 24 hours a day. I'm out of the way. They're making their own decisions. But when you give that complete self-service capability, you get even more regret than that 81% that was on the initial slide. So we've got a lot to deal with in the B2B e-commerce purchasing. We've got misalignment of your stakeholder groups. We've got information gaps within those decision makers. We've got fragmentation across the group. Do we even have the right people in the room? It's a complex process. We've got requirements coming at us from all over the place. And we've got some skepticism and buyer's remorse. So even in B2B, decisions are emotional. And if your buyers feel overwhelmed, no wonder you do too. Okay. So the path forward, what do we do about that? All right, okay, right. We have a checklist. There's a QR code incoming here that I'm going to refer to. This will be on the screen a few times. What we want to do, following some of the tips here, is move ourselves from misalignment to problem framing, information gaps to transparency, and arrive at clarity, open access, consensus, momentum, credibility, and peace of mind. There's 3 ways we're going to do that. We're going to adjust some of our own business processes. We're going to improve our digital experiences. And we're going to use AI to accelerate both of those things. So there's things that AI can do to streamline our own workflows in the business, improve our digital experience so that we address some of those challenges and allow us to do this with more efficiency and energy. Okay, there we go. So the challenges that we face can be discreetly addressed individually. Don't try to boil the ocean. And I don't want to go into the detail on what's at that because I want to get into specifically how AI is coming forward as a tool here. So we all know what AI is good at, but let me emphasize it for a moment. We all use it for content creation. It's really good at helping us find information and be a good search tool. It does product comparison and recommendations really well, especially in a B2B e-commerce experience. It can deflect a lot of our incoming tier 1 support. So great, we get to just turn on AI and go home. But that's still a lot to try and implement. That is overwhelming. So we're in Toronto, so I'm trying to blend analogies here. Can we skate faster than the bear? We don't need to. We just need to skate faster than our competition. I don't know why AI put people skating in running clothes, but again, I guess we're all getting tripped up with our metaphors. We're going to do this one step at a time. Other presenters have talked about that. I want you to think about intentionally putting together a maturity model for your own organization. This is the one from Gartner. They use different maturity models for different technology. This is not the AI one. This is just the first one I found when I Googled the example of a Gartner maturity model. When we've started implementing AI web assistants already, and it's still overwhelming. And so this is the maturity model that we use to try and help our clients gain confidence with the technology and the results. We start with that chatbot being able to have a general awareness for your content. Let's just make sure that it can do kind of the FAQ thing. Once the business is comfortable and there's some monitoring that can happen and we know that it's not hallucinating because we're using RAG, right? And I'll get to that in a sec. Then we'll turn the dial up a little bit further and go, okay, cool, we're feeling better. We trust this a little bit more. Then we'll get into product comparison. Then we'll get into allowing it to have context for the customer and who's on our website individually. So then we can get into that hyper-personalization, the kind of authentic hyper-personalization, not the ones that I get on LinkedIn like our earlier speaker was talking about. And finally, we will let it automate workflows for us. It will take care of renewals. It will do maintenance service agreements on things that we purchased. It will be aware of all that kind of stuff. So we're not trying to jump right to the end. Many of you in this room have seen me talk about this case study before. I'm going to bring it back up again because it lends itself very nicely to this understanding. So Tourism Barrie is a client of ours, and this is a B2B experience. It's not necessarily an e-commerce experience, but they have a section. They have a microsite on their site that is specific to tournament organizers and teams that are coming to Barrie for tournaments. It's a highly valuable niche of their tourism industry. So many teams come, book hotel rooms, eat the food, and bring a lot of economic prosperity to the region of Barrie. If you're a sports team organizer or a tournament organizer, you got a lot to figure out. You got to figure out venues, you got to figure out facilities, you've got to figure out transportation. So in the case of Barrie, a lot of that information is on their own, on the tourism organization's website, things that you can do in between games, things that you can do when you get eliminated on Friday and you've been, no, that's just my son, no. We did well, we got to the finals this year. It started off a little shaky, but we got there. But not all of the information is on the Tourism Barrie website. Some of it is on the transportation agency's website, train schedules. Some of it is on the city's website, arena opening times, pool closures. Tourism Barrie tries to keep that coordinated, but it's a different agency. It's a completely different organization. The AI can be given those destinations as additional data sources and combine the information for a more comprehensive experience for that B2B user. So that's an example of how we're layering up sophistication and capability within the AI. Okay, this sounds great. But everybody here, back to that hesitation problem and that overwhelm, knows that AI can hallucinate. And are you kidding me? I need 100% accuracy, because if it makes one mistake, and somebody used this example earlier, Air Canada got sued and had to pay a lot of money because of a mistake that the AI engine used. They probably weren't using the right kind of model. Or if they were, they probably didn't have it tuned properly. So quick refresher, I think everybody in this room is probably a little bit more on the advanced understanding side here, but just to make sure we're all on the same page, ChatGPT is an LLM. It needs to be everything to everyone. It needs to help my son with his homework, social anxiety. It needs to help me with blog posts, social anxiety, and it needs to do that simultaneously. RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, allows us to put guardrails around that and specifically maintain the context for my own corporate information. So the solutions that we're implementing right now are a combination of those LLMs and those RAG platforms. We're using some of the logos on the screen here and then leveraging the MCP protocol that you've heard to be able to connect with other platforms, and figuring out the right balance of leveraging the LLM general knowledge given the context. The background of this slide is a finance client of ours. They provide financing for the insurance market. We are working with them to automate the process of quoting for financing. They finance insurance purchases. So they get emails from all kinds of different insurance brokers. The information comes in different formats. We're using AI to streamline the process of reading those emails and producing a financing quote, but it cannot be creative at all. So there's no LLM going on in there whatsoever. We're also doing that in a way that allows for human validation, and then we're going to be eventually sort of gradually turning up the dial on the amount of trust that we give that system to further automate some of those processes. So these are the things that AI is good at, the list that I had up before. And this is how we're going to bridge the gap and how you're going to be able to advance the sophistication of your B2B e-commerce site and skate faster than your competition. We're going to let AI do content creation for us so that we can think about storytelling. It's going to do search so that we can look at the analysis and add emphasis to those results. We're going to focus on user experience. It's going to do content personalization so that we can get more precise and in-depth with that content. It's going to do product comparison and recommendations so that we can look at the trend identification and we can do more curation and enhancement of the metadata and the information that we're telling about our product offering. It's going to do trend identification so that we can then make some prioritization, and it's going to do summarization so that we can make decisions. It's going to do tier 1 support so that we can focus on relationship building. It's going to do compliance monitoring, and you're allowed to grab a coffee at that point. All right, did I get there? So hopefully something in there has convinced you. You can take that leap of faith. You have the knowledge, you have the capability, one step at a time, skate faster than the competition. Commerce is going to be reimagined by our capacity to deliver better story-driven experiences, by understanding that B2B buyer reality. There's a checklist that I shared. If you need it again, ping me. You're going to build your own maturity model so that your organization is comfortable with the pace at which you can digest this and you can make intentional decisions on whether or not you're ready to advance. You're going to use RAG AI, everybody, okay, you got that? So that you collectively can go further than the AI can on its own. Let me know how you're going to build or push your flywheel. Leaders who win won't be the ones who waited for perfect. They'll be the ones who kept moving. Thanks, everybody.